Welcome to Betrayal Affairs. In today's video, the story begins with a quiet kitchen, one where the soft scent of vanilla candles floated in the air like a promise. Emily's hands shook slightly as she tied a delicate golden ribbon around a wine glass, her breath catching in her chest with each careful movement. It wasn't just another night. Tomorrow was Daniel's birthday, and for Emily, this was not going to be like the other celebrations they had shared over the years. This time, she had vowed to make it unforgettable, something bold, daring, and unlike anything she had ever offered him before. 10 years of marriage had taught her the many shapes of love. Sometimes it was steady, a calm river flowing endlessly. At other times it was warm, like fire in a hearth, comforting and safe. And yet, there were also moments when love felt fragile, as delicate as glass in the palm of her hand, ready to shatter with the slightest misstep. Her mind replayed memories of Daniel, the man who had always gone out of his way to surprise her, to make her feel like the only woman in the world. Weekend getaways with no notice, notes tucked into her purse where only she would find them, or the way he would reach for her hand in crowded places as if anchoring her to him in a world too busy to notice. Those gestures were the rhythm of their marriage. But tonight, Emily wanted to reverse roles. Tonight, she wanted to give him something that would carve itself into the deepest corners of his soul, a memory so powerful it would live within them forever. This idea hadn't come suddenly. It had been growing inside her for months, quietly, steadily, until it no longer felt like a choice, but a calling. The thought of it scared her, yes, but the thrill of the unknown outweighed her fear. She wanted to test what love could become when stretched beyond convention, beyond the usual rules. And so she had made a decision: she wouldn't be the only one by Daniel's side tonight. She wanted her two closest friends, Sophia and Claire, to be part of it. This wasn't about reckless choices. It wasn't about dangerous impulses. For Emily, it was about love at its boldest, about the courage to see whether trust could be expanded instead of broken, about discovering whether joy could multiply rather than divide. She had seen the way Daniel's eyes softened when Sophia laughed too hard at her own jokes, and she had noticed how attentively he listened whenever Claire spoke, soaking in her words with a depth that revealed his gentle heart. Where most women might feel jealousy, Emily only felt curiosity. Where others might feel fear, she felt a question tugging at her spirit: what if love could be shared without being diminished? Sophia and Claire had hesitated at first, but both had eventually agreed. They trusted Emily deeply, trusted her vision, trusted that this was not about betrayal but about connection. Yet, even with their reassurance, Emily still felt the weight pressing against her chest. What if she was wrong? What if the night she was planning with so much heart ended in pain and regret? She shook the thought away and poured herself a small glass of wine, sipping it for courage as the candlelight shimmered across the table she had set. The house glowed with soft music playing low in the background. To anyone who walked in, it would look like an intimate dinner between husband and wife. But Emily knew the truth: tonight was going to be different, and the secret resting in her heart would change everything. She leaned against the counter, remembering their early marriage days. Daniel had always been the dreamer, chasing new experiences and hungering for more, while she had been the anchor, the one who steadied him, balanced him, kept his feet firmly on the ground. That balance had always been their strength. But recently, she had seen something in him, an unspoken longing. Not dissatisfaction, not unhappiness, but the hunger for something more vivid, more alive. She wanted to face that longing head-on, not push it aside. Sophia had been her first conversation. They had met in a Portland cafe, the rain tapping softly against the window. When Emily told her what she wanted, Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. "You want me to do what?" she had laughed. But as Emily explained her vision, her voice steady, her eyes unwavering, Sophia's smile faded into something more thoughtful. "Emily, that's brave. Scary, but brave. Are you sure Daniel's ready for something like that?" Emily's voice had trembled only slightly as she admitted, "I don't know if he's ready. But I know he deserves something extraordinary." Sophia had eventually nodded, her voice quieter, her confidence more subdued. "If it means that much to you, I'll be there." Claire, on the other hand, had been far more hesitant. Gentle, private, reserved, Claire had flushed scarlet when Emily told her. "Emily, this could change everything." What if it hurts you instead of making you stronger? But Emily had reached across the table, holding her hand with the kind of conviction that could silence doubt. Claire, I trust him. And I trust you. I want him to feel what it's like to be surrounded by care, by love that goes beyond words. I want him to see that love isn't about rules, it's about choices. Choices we keep making every day. After a long silence, Claire had finally nodded, though her eyes betrayed her uncertainty. Now, standing in her candlelit kitchen, Emily could hear her own heartbeat, loud and unrelenting. The stage was set. The clock ticked closer to Daniel's arrival. She whispered to herself, please let this be beautiful. Because deep down, all she wanted was to give him a memory that proved love could stretch, bend, and still remain unbroken. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway pulled her back into the moment. Daniel was home. And from that second, the story of this night began, a story that would alter them forever. Seattle's sky was painted in shades of fading pink and gold as Daniel parked the car, loosening his tie after a long day at work. He expected something simple, maybe dinner with Emily, perhaps a slice of cake, the kind of quiet celebration that had become tradition. But as he stepped through the door, the atmosphere greeted him differently. The glow of candles. The soft hum of music. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Emily appeared before him with a smile that trembled between nerves and excitement. Happy birthday, she whispered, kissing his cheek with lips that lingered just a second longer than usual. Daniel noticed the table set with golden touches, the perfection of the arrangement. His heart lifted. After all these years, Emily still had the power to surprise him. But before he could ask about the night, the doorbell rang. Emily's eyes flickered with a secretive look as she squeezed his hand and walked to the door. When it opened, Daniel froze. Sophia stood there, glowing as always, carrying a wrapped gift. She stepped inside, her laughter lighting up the room. Happy birthday, Daniel, she said warmly, hugging him as though she belonged there. He blinked in surprise. He liked Sophia, everyone did, but he had never expected to see her tonight. He looked at Emily for answers, but she only smiled. Moments later, the bell rang again. This time, it was Claire. Quiet, gentle Claire, holding a sketchbook tied with ribbon. She smiled softly, her voice nearly a song as she greeted him. Daniel's pulse quickened. First Sophia. Now Claire. He turned to Emily, confusion written on his face, but she only squeezed his hand and whispered, tonight is different. Tonight, I want to give you something you'll never forget. Dinner began like any other, but the air carried a heaviness he couldn't quite name. Sophia told stories that made them laugh, her energy filling the room, while Claire shared her drawing, a stormy lighthouse that mirrored Daniel's inner strength. Emily watched him closely, her eyes shining with something unspoken. He tried to make sense of it, but her calm, loving gaze held him in place. As the evening stretched on, subtle shifts began to stir. Sophia leaned closer, her hand brushing his arm briefly. Claire's eyes lingered on his with quiet intensity. Through it all, Emily remained his anchor, grounding him with every reassuring touch. At one point, Sophia's voice turned serious. Emily, are you sure? Emily's response was steady, yes. This is exactly what I want. Daniel's heart pounded. He felt as though he were standing at the edge of something vast, something that could either shatter them or bind them closer forever. As wine glasses clinked and laughter faded into silence, Emily leaned close to him. Her voice was barely a whisper. This is your gift, Daniel. Not just me, but the people I trust most. I want you to feel what it's like to be loved in a way words can't explain. His breath caught. Fear, awe, and wonder surged all at once. He looked at Emily, then Sophia, then Claire, and realized he was standing on the edge of a night that could rewrite everything he thought he knew about love, trust, and courage. The music shifted to something deeper. The candles burned lower. Time slowed. Sophia and Claire spoke words of reassurance, reminding him this wasn't about taking something away, but about giving. Emily's voice trembled as she confessed, because you deserve to feel everything I've felt with you. You're my partner, my trust, my everything. The hours passed in laughter, whispers, and moments that none of them would ever fully explain to anyone else. It was not betrayal. It was not recklessness. It was an experiment in trust, in daring to expand the walls of their hearts. And by the time dawn filtered through the curtains, Daniel realized something profound. Emily hadn't risked their marriage to lose him. She had risked it to show him that love could survive storms, and perhaps even grow stronger through them. When the morning came, Sophia and Claire were gone. Only the echoes of their presence remained, lingering like perfume in the air. Daniel looked at Emily, sleeping peacefully beside him, and felt a flood of emotions so powerful he could hardly contain them. Gratitude. Fear. Awe. Love. He brushed her hair back from her face and whispered to himself, how could one woman love me this much? Later, over coffee in the quiet kitchen, Emily asked him softly, are you angry with me? Daniel shook his head. No. I don't even know how to put what I feel into words. But angry? Never. Tears glimmered in her eyes as she admitted, I was afraid you wouldn't understand. Afraid it would break us. But I wanted you to know that my love for you isn't small. It's bigger than fear. Daniel pulled her close, his voice breaking. Emily, you gave me more than a gift. You gave me trust. From that day forward, life returned to its routines, work, errands, conversations, and laughter. And yet beneath it all, there was a new layer of closeness, a flame only the two of them carried. The night was theirs alone, a secret vow that made them stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than ever. For Emily, it was proof that her heart could expand without breaking. For Daniel, it was a reminder that love, when brave enough, can bloom in ways the world will never understand. And so they faced the future together, hand in hand, their love tested and proven unshakable.